So, you want to be a pipe smoker and you're looking for advice that takes you to a lovely experience without having too many annoying issues and without getting tongue bite? Well, in this case, stay tuned and listen to this episode of Strandkorbgedöns.
Are you ready? Smoke the pipe.
Will you sit down and relax and simply have a good time with me? Set aside your fear and your grief and simply live the moment and you'll see you're free. Hello and welcome to my podcast called Strandkorbgedöns. I'm so glad you found your way here and to have you with me today. Today is Saturday, the 12th of October in 2024. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I hope you're having a good time. A few days off at the weekend and are ready to relax a little bit with me. What I'm gonna tell you today is my personal advice that I want to give to you when you are just starting off, when you're just beginning to be a pipe smoker. First of all, I don't want to make this too complicated because it's not. Smoking the pipe is not some kind of craft or difficult skill to learn. It's quite easy, obviously, but there are some issues that can occur when you do it your first time smoking a pipe, and some really annoying things that can happen. And I want to just share my experience that I have made with smoking pipes to be able to keep you from doing the same mistakes, if you want to call that mistakes. And we're gonna start right in the beginning. The first question is, why do you want to be a pipe smoker? What are you looking for? That is the first thing that we should talk about. And many people want to start smoking the pipe because they are looking for very fruity and sweet flavors of nuts, flavors of whiskey, flavors of cream and vanilla, custard, things like that. The problem is, if you're looking for such an experience, try vaping instead, please. Because you won't find this in smoking the pipe. There are aromatics, of course, but they usually don't taste that intensely like the things they are meant to taste. Like, I don't know how to say this. You know, if you're looking for a very strong sweet flavor and a very distinct flavor of not tobacco, for example, coconut or peach or mango or things like that, please try vaping instead. You will get that taste and you won't have anything that harms your health inside the vape, so that's probably the better option. If you have been smoking cigarettes until now and you want to switch to smoking something more delicious, I think it's a good option to start smoking a pipe. Of course, only if you stop smoking cigarettes. You won't make anything better for your health if you do both, but I think it's a little bit less harmful to smoke the pipe occasionally or once a day in comparison with smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. I'm quite sure that this is less harmful. So this is probably a good reason to start smoking the pipe instead of smoking cigarettes. But if you haven't smoked anything or any kind of tobacco until now and you're now thinking about starting to smoke the pipe, you should be aware that if you aim for only being an occasional smoker from time to time, you know, once a month or things like that, or once a week, I think you won't be very happy with smoking the pipe, because to be able to smoke the pipe in a way that brings really much pleasure and joy to you, you need to have a little bit experience with that. So you will have a few bowls that won't taste very good to you. And most people stop smoking the pipe again if they only smoke once a week or once a month, because they will never really get the hang of it and really get the joy out of it that they are looking for. So they are probably stopping it. So if you're looking for a very occasional smoke from time to time, you probably better look for smoking cigars, because to smoke a cigar is not very, you don't need any skill to do this, apart from drawing too often, but it's really much easier to smoke a cigar. So if you're only looking for an occasional smoke, go for cigars, I suggest. But if you're determined to become a pipe smoker, if you like the whole, atmosphere that comes with it, the handling of the pipe, if you like the shapes of pipe, if you think that they're beautiful, and if you are really looking for this kind of experience of smoking the pipe, then stay tuned, because that's what I'm going to talk about today. So now that we have been clear about why you're smoking a pipe, and you're really determined to do that, we need to talk about what do you need to smoke a pipe. And you don't really need much. First of all, you need a pipe, obviously. I'm gonna summarize what you need. You need a pipe, you need a temper, you need tobacco, you need a lighter or matches, and pipe cleaners. And that's probably all that you need at first. There are a lot of more things and more stuff that you can buy, but for now, this is enough. So, which kind of pipe would you want to buy? And what is my advice? Well, I'd rather give you an advice which kind of pipe you should not buy for the beginning. And yeah, I'm gonna tell you why. I think you should not start with smoking a corn cob pipe. Many people think that's a good thing to start with because they are quite cheap. Yeah, they are not very expensive. You can. Many people are afraid to destroy the pipes when they are not experienced doing this, but this is not an issue at all. I will tell you why soon. But smoking a corn cob comes with one annoying issue that I really don't like. If you smoke a corn cob, you will in a very intense way taste burnt corn, because it's nothing apart from burnt corn that you will taste. You won't taste much of the tobacco, at least in my experience, because when a corn cob is very new and hasn't been smoked a lot of times, it has this distinct taste of really burnt corn. It is not like roasted corn or like popcorn. It really tastes burnt. And to me, this is such a disgusting taste that I cannot stand smoking corn cob pipes at all. Maybe that's different with you. Maybe you like that kind of taste. I can't imagine that anyone likes this, but maybe you like it. So what I'm telling you is true for me, not necessarily true for you. But I would not recommend start with a corn cob pipe, and I would stay away from any kind of wood that is not briar, because if you buy a briar pipe, a pipe made of this briar wood is very durable and very hard to burn. So it's nearly impossible to destroy a briar pipe. It's a different thing if you work with other woods, with other kinds of wood. They might be really in danger of getting burned if you are not very cautious. So my advice is buy a pipe made of briar. It doesn't necessarily have to be very expensive. A pipe is not better in terms of smoking it as a tool. It is not better if you pay a lot of money for it. It may be much more beautiful, and you may want to buy a very expensive pipe because you like the shape, you like the color, you like the art that is inside, that you can see in the shape and the appearance of the pipe. It's okay to spend as much money as you want for a pipe, because a pipe is always worth what you are ready to pay for it. That's actually a phrase from a German YouTuber called Ralf. And and I stole that here, and I really want to mention him here at least. A pipe is always worth what you are willing to pay for it. But you don't need to pay much. 20 or 30 bucks will probably suffice, or 40 to 50 bucks, maybe even more realistic, but you don't need to pay much money. It will work for you. But the second question is, which shape should you prefer? Well, that's a question of taste rather than a question of function. But there are a lot of people who say that full bend pipes are harder to smoke than half bend or straight pipes. And I think there is something true about that. I don't know why that is the case, but if I look at my collection, I can't find any full bend pipes. I don't like them because they are really, and to my mind and from my experience, they are really harder to smoke without having any issues. I don't know why that is the case. I have thought about it a long time. I think that problems might occur because sometimes when you smoke a pipe, you will recognize that your draw is suddenly very tight and you can't really draw on your pipe anymore. The most common reason for this is that a small piece of tobacco is caught inside the canal that runs through your pipe, where the smoke runs from the chamber to the mouthpiece. And so that this tiny bit of tobacco might be caught in the draught hole, that is the small hole where the air canal meets the chamber of your pipe. And the reason might be that this draught hole is a little bit more, it's a little bit more open, a little bit taller in a bent pipe than it is in a straight pipe. If you visualize how the angle of the shank towards the bowl is, you might understand what I mean. But it's only a hypothesis of mine. I'm not sure about this. But in my experience, it is harder to smoke full bend pipes. So I would not recommend full bend pipes to you at all. But this is only my personal opinion, and it might be that you really like this typical, Sherlock Holmes style full bend pipe. It has a certain, there is a style to it that you might like. So please don't step back from that. If you really like this shape, try and go with it. You will probably be able to smoke it in a way that is pleasant to you in a very short period of time. You will learn, you will get the hang of it very soon. But if you ask me what is my advice for the beginning, it's probably easier to start with a straight or a half bend pipe. So a briar, straight or half bend pipe is a good thing to go with in the beginning, I think. Now the next question is, should your pipe have a filter or not? In Germany, the filters for pipes, especially the 9mm filters, are quite popular. Most of German smokers use filters in their pipes. There are, however, 10 to 20%, maybe even 30% of pipe smokers who prefer not using a filter because they say that the taste is more intense when you don't use a filter. I have not made the experience that this is the case. I don't think there is a big difference regarding the taste that you have when you use a filter, but using a filter means the taste is much less harsh to your mucous membranes in your oral cavity. So that is probably the best reason to use a filter. And there might be some tobaccos that are less intense and less enjoyable for you if you use a filter. That's what I mean. Because there might be some kinds of tobaccos, especially the Latakia containing English mixtures, they sometimes taste a little bit more intense without using a filter, and it is easy to smoke them without using a filter because they are not as harsh as, for example, aromatics are or Virginias are to your mucous membranes. Me personally, I usually smoke using a filter. There are 3 types of filters. There are 9 millimeters in diameter filters with charcoal inside it, and they really do a good job for me. There are different brands, of course, and you can experiment with those and find the best one for you, but I think they really work quite well with making the smoke a little less harsh. There are 6 millimeters in diameter filters that I don't like them at all, because a filter has one important disadvantage compared to smoking without filter, and that is that the draw resistance is a little bit higher if you use a filter. Of course, because there's something that is in your airway, so there is some resistance. It shouldn't be too tight, but you will notice it. There is a little difference, and that is the main reason, apart from the taste, that is the main reason for the pipe smokers I know from Germany that don't use filters, that they are annoyed by the tight draw resistance when using a filter. So that is probably more important for them than the taste, the difference in taste. So there is a third kind of filter that is used for pipes that don't have any chamber for a filter. They are only 3 millimeters in diameter, and they don't work at all. They just suck away a little bit of the moisture, because there's always a little bit moisture inside your pipe, however dry you use your tobacco, but there is always a little amount of moisture there, and they are caught by these filters, but you don't need that. Really, they don't make any difference. They don't make the smoke any less harsh or any milder. So make your choice. If you start without or with a filter, both ways have their advantages and disadvantages. I mostly smoke with filter, and sometimes when smoking certain English mixtures, I don't use any filter. I have special pipes for that don't even have a filter chamber. So that's the next question. Now you have your pipe. You have a straight or half band briar pipe without filter or with filter, however you want to do that, is your choice. And now you need tobacco, because that's what it's all about. You want to smoke tobacco. But now comes a difficult question. Many people ask me which tobacco is the best to start with if you're just beginning smoking the pipe. Many people I know from the German pipe community advertise for using an aromatic in the beginning. And I don't really know why. I strongly, if there is any advice that I want to give to you, I would recommend to you not to start with an aromatic. And there are many reasons for that. The first and foremost reason is that aromatics are very moist usually, because the saying goes that a wet tobacco, which is an aromatic, is much more intense in taste of the aroma that is on the tobacco than tobaccos that are dry. I personally have never noticed any distance in my aromatics regarding the taste of the aroma if they are very wet, like they come when you open the can, or when they really dry to the bone. I don't notice any difference in the intensity of the aroma. Although most people will tell you that there is a big difference, and that aromatic tobaccos need to be moist to taste like they should taste. Really, I don't think so, but you can try for yourself. Take an aromatic, smoke it when it's wet, let it dry for 2 days, smoke it again, and tell me if there is any difference in taste. Probably a big difference in handling. It's probably a lot easier to smoke the dry tobacco, but I don't think that you will. If you are honest with yourself, you won't find any difference. Apart from that, the American aromatics are often soaked in glycerin, and this glycerin will never dry. You can leave the can open for weeks and it will still be wet. So why is it so important that your tobacco isn't too moist and too wet? That's probably the most important thing that I want to tell you today, because that's the most frequent mistake that you can make when you start smoking a pipe, that you use tobacco that is too wet, too moist. And I tell you, 95% of the tobaccos that I open are too wet, and not only a little bit too moist. They are wet, like totally overdone, totally too wet. You need to dry them at least 10 hours or 20, 24 hours. That's usually what I do when I open a new can. I leave it open for 24 to 48 hours. It's a difference if you put the can that you bought just somewhere to let it dry, or if you get the tobacco out of the can and you spread it on some kind of sheet of paper or something and let it dry there. That will take much less time to dry. It will only take 2 or 3 hours. But if you just leave the can open, only the surface area on top will dry. And when you put the lid back on, it will, the moisture will spread again inside the tobacco that you have. So the first reason is aromatics are very wet usually. The second reason to not start with an aromatic is that you will probably be disappointed, because when you open the lid of a can of aromatic tobacco that is meant to taste like, for example, vanilla, blueberry, cream, and I don't know, some kind of spirit, alcohol, I don't know. There are very interesting combinations of flavors out there, especially in Germany. They never taste like, to my mind, they never taste like that, what they are promoted to taste like. Most of the times I only taste burnt cough syrup or something like that. It really doesn't taste any good. And it is not sweet. People always talk about sweet aromatics. I have never tasted a tobacco that is really sweet. It's rather chemical, rather intense, and not in a good way. Most of the times, 9 in 10 aromatics to my mind. There are, however, exceptions, of course. There are aromatics that really taste like vanilla or like nuts, and those are mostly tobaccos that only concentrate on one flavor. For example, a Virginia flake that is flavored with vanilla might taste really noticeable like vanilla, but the example that I gave to you a minute ago about, vanilla and blueberry and custard and I don't know what else, will probably taste like a mess. So you will be probably disappointed because you have never tasted pipe tobacco without an aromatic on it, without aroma. You don't even know the difference. So this is all mixed up for you, and you will probably be overwhelmed by all the tastes and will be. There's a high probability that you will be disappointed if you start with an aromatic. So I would recommend to start with a natural tobacco. And there are different kinds of natural tobaccos, of course. There are the Virginia and Burley flakes or mixtures. And there are English mixtures, and you usually call tobaccos that contain Latakia. You would call them English mixtures. They are the easiest to handle, to my mind, if they contain a lot of Latakia, because Latakia is quite cool when it burns. So the probability to get tongue bite is much smaller when you use a tobacco containing Latakia. On the other hand, Latakia is quite a distinct taste, and you might not like it. I know a lot of pipe smokers who really love the taste of Latakia, but I know some who really get sick if they use Latakia tobacco. So my recommendation is start with a natural tobacco and let it dry. Now the question is, how dry should it be? And I bet that if you think this tobacco is far too dry now, I shouldn't have let it open that long, let it dry that long. It's probably still too moist. So tobacco has the right amount of moisture, to my mind. If you hear a very loud noise when you put your finger in it and turn it around, it should make a sound. It should not be quiet. If it's moist, it won't make any sound. But if it's a little dry and dry enough, it will make a sound when you put your finger into the tobacco and move it. On the other hand, it shouldn't be so dry that it breaks when you squeeze it. If you squeeze the tobacco, it should still be elastic and, come back into position. But it should come back into, you squeeze the tobacco and you let loose, and then it should snap back into its original shape. It should not stay there, pressed together. If that happens, if you squeeze the tobacco, let it go, and it stays, how do you call that? In this dense state that you squeezed it in, if it doesn't snap back into its original position, then it's probably far too moist. If it breaks, it's too dry. If it snaps back, it's quite perfect. Believe me, you will have much less difficulties and annoying stuff happening if you let your tobacco dry enough. So let's move on. Next question. Which kind of cut should you choose for your first tobacco? There are different kinds of cuts. You can get pipe tobacco in shape of flake, in shape of roll cake, in shape and in mixtures and ribbon cuts. And to start with, it's probably the easiest way to first use mixtures or ribbon cuts or wild cuts or things like that. Tobacco that you only need to put into your pipe bowl. There's no need to do anything with it in advance. It's easier to find the right amount of moisture to handle it, so you probably start with that. But in the end, if you use a flake or a roll cake, you will have to rub it. There are ways to not rub it and still smoke it, but that's just I really don't like that, because it's hard to do that, and it usually is annoying because it doesn't work so well for me. So I rub flakes, I rub crumble cakes, I rub roll cakes, I rub them out and let them dry and then smoke them. It's the same thing. In the end, it's just a question of taste. Again, it's not a question of function, but it's the easiest. If you're starting off, it's the easiest to start with ribbon cuts or wild cuts, mixtures, things like that. So what else do you need to smoke a pipe? Of course, you need a pipe tool containing at least a tamper and a pick. You don't necessarily need a reamer in the beginning. On the other hand, it's not a bad option if the reamer's already there. So, but on the other hand, I never use the reamers that are inside a pipe tool. I have a special reamer for that. If I really want to ream my pipe chamber, I use these reamers of high quality. So really, it doesn't matter if your pipe tool has a reamer or not, but it should, and all pipe tools have a tamper and a pick. And there are pipe tools out there for $1 or $2. They're totally okay. You don't need anything else. I mean, if you really want to start to collect pipe tools, and if you're really looking for something very sophisticated, then it's up to you to spend a lot of money for this. But it's really not important. You could even use a nail or a screw that is large enough, you know. So the next thing that you need, of course, is something to light your pipe. And really what you use there is you need any kind of fire. There's only one kind of lighter that I would never recommend you to use, and that is a jet flame lighter. Because if you use a jet flame lighter with a briarwood pipe, probabilities are high that you burn your pipe and that you damage your pipe actually. So, and that's quite one of the few ways that you are able to harm a briar pipe is using a jet flame lighter. Of course, you can use a jet flame lighter if you don't hit the wood of the pipe, but only the tobacco. But this is quite, it's not that easy to do that. You need quite some kind of experience. I don't recommend that. I would use, you can use a normal gas lighter that you get at any gas station or in any supermarket. There's no way that you have to use a very sophisticated lighter. Of course, there are pipe lighters that are easier to use. And if you stick with smoking the pipe, you will probably sooner or later look for a pipe lighter, especially crafted for smoking a pipe. But you can use any gas lighter. You can also use petrol lighters, of course, but petrol has has its own taste to it. And some people even like that taste. To me, it's absolutely disgusting. And I could never use a petrol lighter to light my pipe, because I want to avoid any moment that I can taste or smell this petrol that's used for lighters. I really don't like the taste, but I know a lot of pipe smokers that use petrol lighters and are happy with them. So that's totally okay. That is not a problem. You could even use matches, of course. There are even pipe smokers who promote that using matches is the only correct way to light a pipe. I don't think so. It's just a little bit more difficult, that's all. And if you can make mistakes using matches, because if you light the match and draw on your pipe immediately, holding the match to your bowl, you will taste the sulfur, is it called? Is that the correct word? The distinct taste and smell of freshly burnt matches. I don't really like that. But using matches is the traditional way, and it's a little bit more difficult than using gas lighters. So to me, if you ask me what do I use, I usually use gas lighters. Any kind of gas lighter. I have my special pipe lighters, but if I don't find them occasionally, I use any kind of gas lighter I find. So that's perfectly okay. So that's all you need now, and of course you need pipe cleaners. And I would recommend to you if you are going to smoke the pipe, you should always carry at least 2 or 3 pipe cleaners with you. Which kind of pipe cleaners? There are different kinds. Just try them. Just look what try and find out what is the best pipe cleaner for you. There is no strict rule for that. Why do you need those pipe cleaners? When smoking a pipe, I told you already, there's always a little bit of moisture, because even the air that you draw through the pipe is moist. And if it gets hot, it condensates in the, inside the pipe and will generate some kind of moisture. And from time to time, you will notice that there is moisture that you can detect on your lips and on the tip of your tongue when when drawing on the pipe. and that might be quite disgusting. So if you have a pipe cleaner with you, just put the pipe cleaner inside the mouthpiece as far as you can go. If you have a filter in it, you can't go very far. You can only hit the filter, but that's usually enough. You put it inside, pull it out, and all the moisture is gone. You can enjoy smoking your pipe again. So that's why I recommend you always have 2 or 3 pipe cleaners with you. 1 pipe lighter is enough. Sorry. Okay. So now you want to start. You want to start smoking your pipe, and what do you have to do then? First, you need to pack your pipe. But before I come to this, before I tell you about this, let me make one thing clear. As I already said, smoking the pipe is not a difficult skill to learn. It will probably take a few weeks until you can really enjoy it, because you have developed a certain skill. But it's not difficult at all. If I give you a pipe and some tobacco and a tamper and a lighter, and I don't tell you anything about it, you will most certainly find a way very quickly that to smoke your pipe and to enjoy it. But it will probably take a little bit longer if you don't listen to me now, or not only to me, if you don't listen to experienced pipe smokers first. Because you can avoid making annoying mistakes, that might end up in what could possibly happen if you do anything wrong? Well, the first thing that many people are afraid of is that they harm their pipe, that they destroy or burn their pipe. I tell you something, if you're using a briar pipe, this is nearly impossible. So you don't waste your thoughts on this. If you don't exaggerate it totally, if you don't, draw on your pipe like crazy and try to make, to produce as much smoke as possible, if you do that, you might be able to really burn your briar pipe. But if you smoke it in a normal way, you won't be even able to burn this briar wood. So really don't care about that. That's not the problem. A much higher probability there is that you don't enjoy it. That's the most the most imminent danger, probably, that you don't enjoy smoking your pipe and you don't taste anything. It doesn't taste like anything. You don't perceive any joy, any joyful experience, any pleasure. That's the biggest danger if you start smoking a pipe. The second thing that might happen, and that is also quite probable if you don't do it correctly, is that you burn your mucous membrane, especially your tongue, which is called tongue bite. And tongue bite really is not something that I would recommend to you, because if you haven't had tongue bite yet, you will probably underestimate how annoying this is. It's quite painful. You might not be able to taste your food or to eat without pain in the next 24 hours if you have a serious case of tongue bite. It might even take 2 or 3 days for you to recover. So tongue bite is something you definitely want to avoid, because that is one of the most probable reason for most pipe smokers who stop smoking the pipe again because they don't like it. 2 possibilities. The first that I said a minute ago is that you don't enjoy it, and the second is that you get tongue bite. You might enjoy it, but you get tongue bite. And if you have had a serious case of tongue bite, you might never touch your pipe again. And I really understand why, because you really feel kind of sick if you have this. This is not so easy to get along with. And if you use wet or moist tobacco, the probability of developing tongue bite is much higher, because, first of all, if the tobacco is wet, you produce a lot of steam obviously, because the embers are vaporizing the moisture inside the tobacco and it becomes steam, and this steam gets into your oral cavity and really, literally cooks your tongue. And tongue bite feels like when you have a big sip of nearly boiling water. You know, you don't want to try that, but that's what it feels like. It's quite the same. So your mucous membranes get literally cooked if you use too wet tobacco. The second problem is if you use too moist tobacco, you will need more heat to keep it lit. You know, it will go out very easily because it's very moist. So you need to draw faster and draw more often to keep your pipe lit. And yeah, it's much hotter than smoking dry tobacco because you won't need that high temperatures. So the third thing that can happen is that your chamber, respectively your bowl, gets too hot to keep it in your hand. Well, you know, if anyone tells you that there is a way to smoke the pipe without it getting hot, I think he's not telling you the truth, because, you know, embers burn at a temperature about 1000 degrees of Celsius or 1800 degrees of Fahrenheit. So if you have this glowing embers inside this chamber, how is it meant to stay cool? Is that even possible? If it's really properly lit, it is not possible. It will get too hot to keep it in your hand. But the only way, you know, to avoid this is to smoke very slowly. And if you smoke so slowly that not the whole area of the chamber is lit, it won't taste very nice. You know, you won't enjoy it very much. So, of course, if it's your goal to keep the bowl as cool as possible, you will probably learn a skill and a technique to do that, but you won't enjoy smoking your pipe very much, because you won't develop any taste and any aroma. It's just not enough embers in there. So, well, of course, your bowl will get hot, but it usually, if you're used to smoking the pipe, you will develop a technique that it doesn't get so hot that you can't hold it in your hand anymore. It will still be warm and really very warm, but not so warm or so hot that you can't touch it anymore. If you're touching the bowl and you pull back your hand like in pain, then it's probably really too hot, no? In that case. But yeah, I will tell you a technique that will prevent you from burning your tongue and prevent that to happen, which I explained a minute ago. And this is a very easy technique, and I can tell you in a few minutes. First of all, how do you pack your pipe? Now, the most common mistake is that the bowl is filled too tightly. You know, people fill in the tobacco and push like crazy and try to stuff everything that is possible in there. That's not the right way to do it. You won't have much fun smoking your pipe like that. You should be able to still, you know, you've just filled the pipe. Don't stuff in it. Don't use any pressure, you know. Just fill it in and then push softly and slightly down with your finger. Don't push hard. Just, you know, it should always be a little bit. You should, if you push down the tobacco, it should always be able to come back a little. You know, you push it down, it comes back a little. If that's not the case anymore, if it's really too tight, you won't have fun smoking the pipe. Once you have filled your pipe and really fill it as loosely and as lightly as possible in the beginning, because you can always, during smoking your pipe, you can always use your temper to pack it a little tighter. That's always possible, but it's not possible the other way around. If the pipe is packed too tightly, you won't have any fun with smoking it. So once you have finished filling your chamber, draw on your pipe when it's not lit. And you shouldn't feel any resistance then. There are pipe smokers out there who will tell you different, but I tell you, you shouldn't feel any resistance. It should feel like there is no tobacco in your pipe at all. Now, if you draw on your pipe and you notice, okay, this is not at all loosely packed, this is really tight, there might be, it might have a different reason, and that is exactly what I explained 20 minutes ago. When there is a small piece of tobacco that is caught inside the draught hole. And you can find out if that is the case for your bad draw if you just take a pipe cleaner, put it inside your pipe while the tobacco is already in there, push it until you hit the chamber. And if there was just a little piece of tobacco caught in the draught hole, now your draw should be light and easy. You can still smoke the pipe. But if you do that and you draw on your pipe which is not lit yet, and you find it's still very tight, it's very difficult to draw, do yourself a favor, discard this filling and start from the beginning. I mean, you don't have to discard the tobacco, you can use it again, of course. The tobacco that is in your chamber now. You can, get it out there in any way. Don't be too harsh to your pipe, just scratch it out and with a pick probably. In a cautious manner, and then you can put it back in, and next time a little bit more easily and more lightly. So now that you've done this, you take your lighter or your match or whatever you have to light your pipe, and in the beginning you move the flame around the whole area of the chamber and draw. I always say pull, sorry, that's just it's a mistake I make very often. But I usually don't cut them all out. It's more natural if I just keep talking, I think. So you draw on your pipe and you draw as much and as strong and as fast as you like. Just your first goal is to keep to get this tobacco lit, And once the whole area of the chamber is hit by the flame and is glowing already, then you put the pipe away and let it go out. Then you use your temper and, just soften the surface. Flatten the surface. Not soften. Flatten the surface, just push down very gently. Don't do that too hard. You don't want once your draw is too tight, there's no way back, usually. So always use your temper in a gentle and very easy manner. And then you light it again and really focus your attention on the whole area of the chamber being lit. The whole surface area should be lit. And that's it. Now you're into smoking the pipe. You have lit your pipe. It is burning evenly. And now you have to change your way of drawing the pipe. Many people think that you need to produce as much smoke as possible to get the most out of the taste of the pipe. That is not true. I once had a conversation with Thomas Nietzsche, that is the master blender of Kopp in Germany, and it's a very big company that produces a lot of different tobaccos. And he once said, people always think that much smoke means much taste, but that's not right. And that's exactly what I want to tell you today. You don't need to produce so much smoke to have the full aroma. The other way around, if you produce too much smoke, your tobacco is probably lit too much and it's too hot, and it will, the taste will switch from pleasant and aromatic too harsh, ashy, and metallic. You don't want that. So never smoke too hot. You should draw on your pipe in a manner that you are not able, if you listen closely, you're not able to hear yourself drawing. You should not be able to hear any sound while you draw on your pipe. You might want to practice that 1 or 2 times with no tobacco in it at all. It's not that easy because you really need to move your tongue inside your mouth very, very cautiously and very gently. But if you just stick to this one advice, just don't pull so hard that you can hear yourself drawing. Just draw very slowly and gently. You will never develop tongue bite. I think so. I'm quite sure about that because it didn't happen to me since I am doing it in this way. You won't develop tongue bite. You will have a pleasant experience probably, and of course it might occur that your pipe goes out. It doesn't. The embers go out. That's not a problem at all. Just let it cool for a few minutes and light it again. The first 3 or 4 puffs will be quite disgusting, but then it will come back to your original smoking experience. You won't have any difference then in comparison to the pipe not having gone out in the first place. So it will be the same thing. So, let me see. Made some notes for myself to if there is an option I want to mention of at least, if you have difficulties in filling your chamber the right way, and you have had this issue of small crumbles of tobacco being caught in the draught hole, there is a way that you can avoid that to happen. You can use Meerschaum granules, Meerschaum granules that you can put on the bottom of your pipe chamber. But many people, I have done this for a short period of time and I really liked it, but I don't do it anymore. I don't know why. Because probably it's just it works for me without Meerschaum granules now as good as if I use them or not. It's the same thing for me, so I don't see a reason to do it anymore. But if you're beginning and you have this problem that your bowl is always packed too tightly, you can try Meerschaum granules filling in the bottom of your pipe chamber. I've watched some YouTube videos from abroad about the German Frank method. Obviously, people in different countries, in other countries than Germany, think that in Germany this method of packing your pipe is quite popular. I know about it, but I have never used this method. I've tried it, but I find it far too complicated. And really, I don't know. I don't know any German pipe smoker who uses the Frank method, but I have seen a lot about it in foreign YouTube videos. So I don't know why this Frank method is so popular in the USA and in other countries, and really no one really uses it in Germany. You can play with that. I have tried it. It's fun to do that, but it's far too complicated for an everyday experience, I think. And I don't see any reason to do it. It works for me perfectly if I just put the tobacco inside the chamber and light it. So I don't know why this method is so popular, but just wanted to have said this. Next thing is, now you've lit your pipe, you draw in a gentle and easy manner, and the next thing that is very important for you to enjoy smoking the pipe is to retrohale. That means to let the smoke pass your nose on the way back. How do you do this? If you don't do this, if you don't retrohale, you will not be able to to perceive anything. It won't taste like anything. You will probably only have an ashy aftertaste after smoking the pipe, and it will be hot and it might be unpleasant from time to time, but you won't feel anything. You won't perceive any taste or aroma. So really the perception of pipe tobacco is, to my mind, 98% through your nose and not through your tongue and mouth. The tongue and the mouth is only able to distinguish 5 kinds of taste. That is salty. Most tobaccos are not salty. Bitter. Yeah, you might taste something bitter from time to time when smoking the pipe. Sweet. There's only one tobacco in the world that I have ever experienced to be really sweet on my tongue, and that is the Autumn Evening by Cornell and Deal. That's the only tobacco I've ever tried that really tastes sweet on my tongue. But this is a subjective experience. So you might taste some sweetness in the tobaccos you try, but I have never tasted that. Sour, of course. I hope your tobacco does not taste sour, otherwise it won't be very pleasant. And umami, of course. But this is only, to my mind, 2 to 5% of the whole experience comes through perception in your mouth, really. 95% is in your nose. So you need to get that smoke to your nose. How do you do that? Well, you draw on the pipe. Never inhale, by the way. Do not inhale pipe smoke. You might do that, but on the first place, it's not any pleasant. It really tastes terrible. It is very harsh to your lungs, and it's so absolutely dangerous to your health. So please don't do it. It's not. You won't enjoy it in any way, I think. If you want to inhale your smoke, just stick to cigarettes, probably, not pipe. But of course, I know a lot of pipe smokers who inhale every 5th or every 10th draw. You can do that if you want to. I just would not recommend it, So now that the smoke is inside your mouth, you breathe out through your nose and you close your mouth, the inside of your mouth. And then the smoke gets into the back of your throat and out through the nose. If you do it like that, you blow out 100% of the smoke through your nose. You can also leave a small space between your lips so that the smoke only partially goes out through your nose. The other half is going out through your mouth. You can play with that. You will find a technique. But just make sure that the smoke of the burnt tobacco leaves not only your mouth, but passes your nose in any way. So you won't be able to smell or taste or feel anything. You won't experience anything pleasant if you don't do it like that. So that's the second thing I want to stress here. So now the question is always, how far do you smoke your pipe? There is a simple rule to that. You just smoke as long as it tastes good. If you don't like it anymore, just get rid of the rest of your bowl. There's really no reason to force yourself to smoke until the very end of the bowl. There are people who advertise that this is the only way to smoke the pipe, that you have to smoke all of the tobacco inside your chamber. There's no reason to do that, not at all. And there's no you might want to do that, to develop a certain skill to be able to do that, but most of the times you won't really enjoy that, because at least the second half or the last third of the chamber is, especially when smoking aromatics, is not very pleasant anymore. But when smoking English tobaccos, for example, that contain a lot of latakia, it may happen that you don't even notice that you've already reached the bottom of the chamber, and you use your pick and cautiously feel how much tobacco is left in there, and you just feel there is no resistance at all. It's just ashes that's left. That's an experience that I personally call that's the perfect smoke experience, because it's very rare. Perhaps 1 in 100 pipe fillings that might happen, but usually not. Usually the second half is not very tasteful anymore, it's not very pleasant anymore, and the last third and the last fourth of the chamber is just, it's just a mess. It just tastes like ash and like charcoal and metallic and bitter, not pleasant at all. So don't force yourself to do that. There's no point in doing that at all. It's the same thing when you smoke a cigar. The last third of the cigar is most times it's not very pleasant anymore. But people, paid a lot of money for the cigar and try to, to force themselves to smoke them until the very end. But I would not recommend doing that, because you want to enjoy it. You don't want to force yourself to do something you don't like. So that's my last advice. Just smoke until you don't like it anymore, and just let your pipe go out, and you will find a way to get rid of the tobacco in there. There are people who tell you that you have to leave the ashes in there to make the wood dry better. I don't think so. I don't think that's necessary. It's just water. It will evaporate overnight. So just get rid of the rest of the tobacco and leave your pipe until the next day. It's okay. We get to cleaning the pipe in a few minutes. So, yeah, we get to cleaning the pipe now. That's the next topic I want to talk about. How do you clean your pipe? Well, of course, you first let it cool a little bit before you twist off the mouthpiece. Why do you do that? When you smoke your pipe, the wood in the briar wood and the wood of the bowl and the wood of the shank will get a little bit, how do you call that in English? I have to look that up, sorry. Yeah, of course. It will expand, the wood will expand, and it will be more difficult to twist off the mouthpiece. The mouthpiece in most of the times is made of acrylics, but it might be made of ebonite. Did I pronounce that correctly? Ebonite? Either way, there is a small risk of breaking your mouthpiece when it is, stuck inside the shank too tightly. Also, the shank gets warm during smoking, so that will make the effect of expanding the shank even more relevant. So it's a good idea to leave your pipe for 15 to 20 minutes before doing anything with it after you've smoked it. Now you turn off the mouthpiece, and there are people who tell you that you have to do this clockwise only or counterclockwise only. They tell you that it is important that you twist off the mouthpiece only in one direction at each time, using the same direction each time you twist it off. I don't think that's important, not at all. You could even, if it's not too tight in there, you could even pull it off. Get it off there, just be gentle, just don't break it. If it's stuck, leave it be. Wait for another half an hour or something. Just don't use force, and it won't break. Probably. If you haven't bought a very cheap pipe that uses very cheap and bad materials, it won't break. Just be a little gentle with it. Now you twist the mouthpiece off, and you take your pipe cleaner, run it through the mouthpiece, run it through the shank. Be careful not to hit the back of your chamber too hard. Be gentle. Wipe it clean. Use 1, 2, or 3 pipe cleaners to your taste. Whatever you can do it as long as you want. There are people who use 10 pipe cleaners after every smoke to make sure that there is no gray stench on their pipe cleaner when they run it through the shank and put it out and think that it has to be that way. I don't think so. I use 1 or 2 pipe cleaners and that's it. And then you put the mouthpiece back on and leave it dry. Leave it there for a day, I would say. That's another question that I'm frequently asked is how often do you, how long needs the pipe, how much rest does a pipe need until you can use it the next time? There are people who tell you need to leave it for 48 hours to really dry thoroughly. There are other people who tell you need 1 day. I don't think there's any rule to that. You could smoke the same pipe 5 times a day. It will just wear off faster, of course, because you smoke it more often. But I usually smoke my pipes 1 time a day because I have a big collection. I want to give them all a try from time to time. So I just switch the pipes. I don't see a point in smoking the same pipe 5 times a day if I have 50 pipes at home. So I usually just at least use it once a day. But I really don't see a problem if you only have 2 pipes or 3 or only 1 to smoke it more than 1 time a day. I don't think anything terrible will happen to you. But that's what I want to tell you. To put in a nutshell, all the things that I have told you, they are just my personal experience, and these are the things that work out for me. And you should never be too obedient, and you don't take the advice too seriously. Find your own way. You will find your own way. Like I said in the beginning, if I just give you a pipe and some tobacco and the temper and the lighter, in 3 or 4 weeks you will find a way to make it work for you. And everything that helps you enjoy your smoking experience is correct, is the right thing to do for you. And everything that makes the tobacco experience worse, if anything that I told you today doesn't work for you, just discard it, just get rid of it. Do your own thing. Find your way. Find your way, because everything that helps you enjoy this experience is the right thing to do. Whatever that is, whatever that may be. So, have I told you everything that I wanted to tell you today? Yeah, I think so. I think that's about it. It's quite a bit of information. I hope I didn't scare you off. If you are not sure if you want to try smoking the pipe, just take it easy. Just try it. You have listened to what I said. Maybe you remember the one thing or the other when you make your own experiences, but really, take it easy, have a good time, because that's what it's all about. It's not a difficult skill to learn. Just really, I hope you don't suffer from tongue bite, because that's really not a pleasant experience. It feels like you're sick, like you've caught a cold or something. You won't feel very good if you experience that. I hope I could keep that away from you by telling you about my experience. And that's pretty much what I wanted to tell you today. And I hope it was fun for you to listen to me. And I hope it will help you if you start smoking the pipe, or even if you have smoked the pipe for a few weeks and you still encounter some issues and problems. Maybe I could help you today by telling you what I do. I hope so. And of course, I hope that that you will tune in next week when the next episode of Strandkorbgedöns is going to be online. If nothing terrible happens to me, that will be the case. So see you we won't actually see each other. Meet you next week. So have a good day. Have a nice week. And let me see, how do I close my episodes in German? How can I translate that to English? I usually say, I wish all the things to you that you wish for yourself, that you wish yourself that should happen in your life. I wish those dreams and hopes come true for you. And of course, I wish you the perfect smoke experience as often as possible. See you next time. Bye.